Hello, I'm Senator Antonio Hayes, Maryland State Senator for the 40th Legislative District in Baltimore, along with my co-host, Dr. Ron Williams of Coppin State University Center for Strategic Entrepreneurship. And this is Westside on the Rise. Welcome back, where we're a source of information about legislative activity affecting the west side of Baltimore, West Baltimore development, and all of the great things and opportunities generated by our trusted anchor institution, Coppin State University. This is our final episode of the year. And so we've had a good run. We've had an opportunity to talk to the president of Coppin State University, Dr. Jenkins, as well as some other guests, including one of the professors over at Coppin, who's doing an extraordinary job as the dean of the business school. And so we're wrapping up this year, and I'm looking forward to today's segment. And I'm going to turn it over to my co-host here, Dr. Ron Williams.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Hayes. And it is indeed a real pleasure to have reached the end of 2021. It's been a very eventful year, as you have expressed. And I have really appreciated the delivery of these sessions that are informative, not only for the community, but for the institution of Coppin and all of our stakeholders. This is very valuable. It has indeed been a very good year from the perspective of the Center for Strategic Entrepreneurship. This was an awareness raising year. So we've done a lot of that with our conference initially in the spring, some of our engagement with youth entrepreneurship community in the summer, and in the fall, we've had a phenomenal run. Our student organization on campus is activated. We have a certificate program in entrepreneurship. Our students have been part of the Capitol Hill Makers Fair. We had a great Global Entrepreneurship Week participation from the community. So 2021 has been real good. So we are looking forward to not only this collaboration continuing, but also the coming year. We're very excited about it. Thank you.
So today's guest, we have David Bramble. His time to sourcing transactions, financial structuring, and overseeing project underwriting and execution. A corporate and real estate attorney by training, David brings a deep knowledge of all aspects of real estate cycle. Prior to MCB, David served as director of commercial lending for a regionally based full service lending firm, which he co-founded in 2000. Prior to devoting all of his time to commercial real estate development, David practiced law and transactions group of a DC-based international firm where he provided corporate and real estate advisory service. His practice focused on complex workouts, primarily in the real estate and financial product space. David currently serves on the advisory board to the Brown School of Business and Leadership at Stevenson University and the foundation of the Mount Washington Pediatric Hospital. David has also served on the board of directors of federally chartered bank, served as a commissioner on Maryland Racing Commission, as well as on boards of multiple real estate and non-real estate related charitable organizations. David received his JD from the University of Pennsylvania and the AB from Princeton University. We welcome David Bramble to the Westside on the Rise.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the nice introduction.
Absolutely.
Welcome, David. Thank you for your time, and thank you for all that you have done and have been able to accomplish. It's a pleasure for me to meet you directly. I'm most familiar with your family and the Baltimore Times, and have worked. I have to invoke the name of Othniel Muldrow, who was a great mentor for me when I served as dean at the College of Business. But it is a real pleasure. The first thing I would like for you to address, if you would, as a true academic and somebody who's really concerned about the students, all of your accomplishments and all that you've been able to do in the commercial real estate sector And would you just say a word about how our students might best prepare themselves to connect with the world that you have grown into? I mean, it's sometimes, your accomplishments and where you are now, it seems like such a wide gulf between some of the students that I encounter in undergrad school and where you are. But just say, could you just address that quickly? I know that's a lot to address in a few minutes, but what would you say to them as a piece of advice to start out with?
Sure. I mean, I'll say to you, first of all, thank you for mentioning Mr. Muldrow, who's also a mentor for me for many, many years. And obviously our family was very close with his family. And he wasn't just a mentor for me. Any young Black business person that was interested in learning how to put deals together or how finance worked, he made himself available. And it's actually a lot of his ethos I think I've tried to adopt. So thank you for bringing him up. The reality is I'm from West Baltimore. I've always lived in West Baltimore. I still live in West Baltimore today. I grew up in Madison Park, which is just to the east of Coppin, a couple blocks south of North Avenue, and I went to Baltimore City Public Schools. So I am a product of Baltimore City in more ways than one. The difference is that I had the opportunity to get exposed to the opportunities around commercial real estate. And that's the only reason that there's a big gulf, as you mentioned, because there's a lack of exposure to the opportunities. I frequently will give talks to business students or other students who are interested in the space. And just, there's so many pathways into commercial real estate. For me, it was the law. For others, it might be brokerage or construction or financing or architecture. There's lots of pathways into the business. And it's incumbent upon us and upon me in particular to make sure that we're letting people know what those opportunities are and how they can access those opportunities. So it's not as hard as it seems, but you have to, like so many other things, you start small. And if you start small and you stick with it, and you are ready, as I like to tell people, you have to be ready for your opportunity when it shows up. So you do the hard work, and then when your opportunity shows up, you're able to sort of take it to the next level. We own and operate, a lot of real estate, probably more than 10 million feet, billions in value, but that started with row house rehabs. So just to put things in perspective.
That's very helpful. And just before I pass it over to Senator Hayes, this is really a good bookend for our last session. In our last session, Hope Mims, who is a Coppin grad, West Baltimore product, owns a brokerage firm, Mims Realty Group, and they have agreed to sponsor 5 of our students to get their real estate licenses, and we'll be involving them in mentorship. But of course, that's residential side. But that's important. Seeing who I want to be and having that mentorship and exposure available. But thank you for that, and I'll pass it over to Senator Hayes.
No, definitely, and Hope was awesome last month. But Dave, to bring it down to a level for people to understand what it is you're doing, I know you brought with you a PowerPoint presentation, and this series, Westside on the Rise, is really about what's highlighting those things that are taking place that many may know about or may not know about. And so we wanted to give you an opportunity to share one of your projects that I'm quite looking forward to in Madison Park North. And so you can go ahead and share your slides and walk us through the project that's happening right here on West North Ave.
Sure, thank you. I'm sharing my screen. Can you see my screen? Okay, good, thank you. So I'm just going to talk for a few minutes about this Madison Park North project. As the senator said, it's near and dear to his heart. It's near and dear to my heart. It's just a few blocks away from where I grew up and where I live on North Avenue. For those of you who may know it, it's basically the 700 through 800 block of North Avenue on the north side between Park and Linden Streets. So just a quick background on us. My partner and I co-founded this company in 2007. We own and operate, and the slide's actually a little outdated because we own and operate real estate from Florida up through New England and then around the US, primarily for institutional investment partners. And we invest and develop in retail, office, industrial, mixed use, and multifamily properties. So large scale commercial real estate. My partner on this particular deal is a gentleman named Mark Renbaum, who's based in Baltimore and does mostly Baltimore-based deals, and we've been working on this deal together for a very long time. These deals can take quite some time to come together. For a little bit of context, this is the site here, so 83 here to the south, Coppin State obviously a little bit further to the west here. I live right here. In fact, that's my house. And this is a brand new 21st century school here that just opened. And this is the site where you see these buildings here, these proposed rendering. And the reason we like this site so much is because of its proximity to 83, its proximity to University of Baltimore, to the train station, all these cool neighborhoods where things are happening on the west side. And this site we really see as the gateway to the west side of Baltimore. So we're pretty excited about working on this deal. The backstory on this, so you know, is that this was formerly a what we call a super block site. It was assembled by the city of Baltimore over many years and was designed to be basically a public housing project. It was built and then, of course, through lack of management and many other societal things, which I won't go into, it turned into a very, sort of dangerous place. And actually for a long time had the nickname as the Murder Mall. My mother's first office was actually in this development as it previously sat. My mother is the publisher of the Baltimore Times. And I remember going here after school, and I could tell you it was a rough place. It certainly earned its title. When we finally demolished this with help from the state of Maryland, a significant amount of crime disappeared from the surrounding neighborhoods. Just to go into a little bit about the project, I mean, we've been in this thing, as I mentioned, since 2017. So obviously this one's getting long in the tooth. There's some very interesting real estate issues. I won't go through all of them, but the two big ones were the fact that there were air rights that were designated on the property that belonged to the Baltimore City school system, and then underground rights, which you can see on these orange blocks here, which belong to a successor to Amtrak. So in addition to the community process that's necessary to put a deal together like this, which is spending time talking to the community, getting the neighborhoods on board, and making sure you've got a project that reflects the needs and desires of the community, we had these real estate issues to deal with. And I'm happy to say that we recently received final approval from the city for those rights to be transferred just a few weeks ago. We are close to finishing our deal with Amtrak. And I say close, it's been a long road, but we expect to be done with them very soon. Here is a picture of sort of a site plan showing what will be on the site when we're done. We're planning on building for sale townhomes here, which you see indicated here, backing up against Lenox, and then again here. And there's some changes to this configuration since this PowerPoint was put together, but I think it can give you the picture. And the reason we're leading with for sale townhomes is because we believe that it's very important for home ownership to be a driver in Black neighborhoods. We want to see opportunities for home ownership and home equity. We also think it's very important in terms of developing true mixed income neighborhoods. Then you'll see here, this is this building C, this will be phase 2. And in phase 2, we're planning on 260 plus market rate apartment units and a grocery store on the first floor, much needed for West Baltimore. For those of you who live near Coppin, you know that there's very limited grocery options. We have to drive all the way up to Mondawmin or all the way to the east or south for groceries. So we're pretty excited. I know my wife is also excited about potentially getting a grocery store here. And then building A, we're planning another residential building with retail, but this building A is a little further off in the future. The first phase to go will be the for sale townhomes, and then followed by the apartments and the grocery store. Here are a few of the renderings. These are very conceptual. As I said, this is sort of looking north and west on North Avenue. If you're standing on the hard corner of Park and North Avenue, as you can see, the plan for a grocery store here on the corner, and then retail activation. I've lived, as I mentioned, in this neighborhood my entire life, and I never walk on this stretch of North Avenue. But I think if we create the right activation, the right atmosphere, it'll definitely be a place where people will want to be. Here's another view of this building with the retail and grocery underneath, and then some views of the townhomes. So that's, you know, what we're talking about in terms of the townhomes. So that's the basic presentation. We are anticipating the finalization of the air rights acquisition from the city. It has been approved by the Board of Estimates, so we're expecting that to be done any minute. We were hoping it would be done sooner so we could start construction, and then getting the Amtrak piece that I also discussed resolved, so we can, with those two pieces, we can get going on construction. So we're very, very excited.
Thank you so much for that. That is absolutely awesome. And just a couple of questions that, I mean, I have a million questions that have come out of the presentation, but here are a couple that I think we can tackle. You mentioned a couple of times, one, going to that location after school when you were young. That was your mother's first office there. Now you're seeing the transformation of a block that you grew up with, and you saw the decline. Now you're able to be involved in the revitalization of that. Can you just speak to how, because I think it's important, how satisfying that is for you? Many of our students come to us based on a sense of mission, based on a connection to the community that they grew up in or live in. So can you just speak to how important that is to you as a West Baltimorean?
I can't even tell you. I mean, it's hard to actually put it into words. So we do deals all over the place, big deals, and, you know, ones where I can make substantial returns for myself and for my investors. But I don't think I will ever do a project more meaningful than this. And this is a really hard project. As I mentioned, we've been working on this for years. We have spent millions and millions of dollars and haven't received a penny in return as of yet. And it also requires massive support from the state. Senator Hayes, he didn't mention this, but he's critical, his support in getting what we needed from the state, from DHCD, from the governor and the lieutenant governor, critical support from the city and the Baltimore Development Corporation and the neighborhoods. You know, people have to want this for it to work. And it is incredibly meaningful. I said, when we first tore down the buildings, which was years ago, I remember making a little speech and saying to everybody, of all the things that I've been involved with, there's nothing like being able to come home to Baltimore. Nothing like being able to come home to Baltimore and do something meaningful like this in my neighborhood. And most importantly, to prove that there's more to Black neighborhoods than extremely low income affordable housing. Like, we want more. We want grocery stores. We want home ownership. We want nice places to play and to live. If we build these things, I feel confident that people who, run away to the county and gone other places will reconsider and want to be part of the story that we have going on here in Baltimore. So I'm really excited about it. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity in so many ways. One of the funny things I laugh about is I go to some of these community meetings, and we do community meetings all around the city and lots of different places in the country. And there's not one where at the community meeting when people are complaining, like they actually know me because they're my neighbors. And then even better, when you do that thing, you say, raise your hand when you've lived in this neighborhood for 40 years, 45 years. I could put my hand up and say, I've lived here for 45 years. And I've never seen this sort of investment on this scale, other than institutional investment in a project like this. So this is super exciting, and we're fired up. We're fired up.
I can sense it, and I didn't want to just breeze past that, because I think that that is really the magic sauce. That's the magic sauce. We have so many students that are from the community, from the neighborhood, and that's what they bring to the table. They bring their genius, but they also bring that passion of, this is home for me. This is not a game. This is real. So with that, I'll pass it to Senator's follow-up.
You're on mute.
Sorry about that. No, I appreciate this. I think this is the beginning of many, many things. We've had an opportunity through the series to talk about the West North Avenue Development Authority and other things. And I will, this is going to be our gateway, and this will be the tipping point for a lot of great things that come to this area. You've been around the country and you've seen a lot of development and cities transform in many ways. I wonder if you could, think a little bit about over the next 10, 15 years in Baltimore and in this region, what opportunities that do you see coming? One of the things that I enjoy in working with Coppin is that, for the first time in the history of Baltimore, we have less than 600,000 residents, but we have 100,000 college students that come through Baltimore every year. Right. And oftentimes they leave or exit our city and go back to where they grew up in other places around the world. But as you see development in your travels here in Baltimore and other places, do you see greater opportunities happening over this next 10 to 15 years? And where do you see those opportunities exist?
Yes, I see opportunity. I think this is an important statement. I personally have the ability to invest anywhere, and I'm investing here. I mean, we are investing in other places, but we're making huge investments here. We just finished, we are halfway through a $150 million development across from Johns Hopkins Bayview. We are almost done with a large mixed-use development next to Morgan State University, so our other historically Black college on the east side. A large-scale mixed-use project, in which Morgan was a partner by locating its public safety building and its bookstore building, and then of course Madison Park, which is my flagship, community project because it's in my neighborhood. So 100% I believe in Baltimore, and people ask me all the time. They're like, what is it about Baltimore? I'm telling you, Baltimore has so many great things. And we have problems. I don't want to gloss over problems. I think we all know we have problems, especially if you're on the West Side, you know the problems. But what we have is we've got a port, we've got a beautiful waterfront, we've got access to international and regional rail and international travel through the airports. We have amazing, regional infrastructure, and we've got great people and great neighborhoods. The question is, how do we tap it? And how do we get people excited about staying and growing in Baltimore? So, there's a couple things I'll throw out there. One thing is we need to be serious about economic development. And the role that you all have played in getting this Westside Redevelopment Authority running, I can't tell you how important it is, because we all know there's challenges that and things that we've been through as people, but now it's time to focus on the future. And how are we going to do that? We're going to do that through economic development, by getting capital and business opportunities into the hands of the people who are willing to invest in these neighborhoods. And that's not going to happen without commitment from us. And then also accepting that there's a lot of hard work ahead. And the reality is there's tons of opportunity. We just have to be willing to seize it. And if I can tell you something, if we don't seize it, other people will. And then we'll be sitting around saying, damn, remember when this place looked so terrible? And now it looks so nice. But wait a minute, nobody that looks like us lives here. What happened? That will happen, right? If we don't do something and we don't get engaged and decide that we're going to direct how this community is going to advance itself. And it also, just to add one point, it doesn't happen without us looking at ourselves and saying, well, what are we doing wrong? What are we lacking? And what do we need to focus on? And it is, we know what it is. It's job creation. It is all the things that go around the ability to, the ability to get those jobs, to maintain those jobs. And I think that when we start thinking comprehensively, the way I think we're finally beginning to think, there's a pathway to change. So we're really excited about it. And we're definitely putting our money where our mouth is in terms of our willingness to invest in these areas. And we're trying to invite and encourage people to be part of the process. I just wanted to let you know one thing. There is a study that a group called Live Baltimore has done that shows there is demand for thousands of houses in Baltimore, thousands. But we don't have the right product, right? We haven't invested in the product. And we can't solve all problems with real estate. I know that. I don't want to pretend that that's what I'm saying, but there's a huge opportunity for us to start the reversal in terms of the population decline and attracting people with incomes back into the city, and then giving opportunities for folks, legacy residents, to benefit and draft off of that increase in income and increase of activity in the city. So we are definitely excited.
This has been so valuable that I almost want to chop it up and just make it a semester course and what's necessary to move the ecosystem forward. But I'll end with one last. There's so many questions I could ask. I really love what you said about the assets in Baltimore. Not only are the infrastructure, but the great people, the people resource that we have, the students that we encounter at Coppin State that come right from the community. We draw heavily from the city and PG, that the opportunities that they're getting to participate, to not only see people that look like them, but also to participate and be more self-determined in terms of their future. That's critical. Right now, as we hope to widen the pathways for those students, okay, we're doing what we can at Coppin. We get them in, we may get them a real estate license, give them some mentorship, help them begin to understand, get into the sector. I do know that there are other institutions of higher ed that have, a master's degree in real estate program, this program, that program. Your pathway was through law. Do you think that what we're doing is a viable pathway to widen the path to where people can participate on a more significant level? Is that the way? We're trying to create learn while you earn opportunities, learn the sector, be shadow, mentor, go in, get an advanced degree. Is that the lane that we put people on?
Yes, I think there's two lanes. I think 100%, yes. The lane that you're doing is critical. But then the other piece to it, which I think people really weren't open to previously, before the George Floyd event. But now there's a huge opportunity. So the training is, obviously there's the academic training and there's getting things ready. But then there's a whole nother level, particularly with real estate. One of the reasons it's so hard for minorities and people of color, and particularly Black people, even in a city that's majority Black, to get into real estate is because it's a very incestuous business. And it's this guy's uncle, that's how I got the job, this is my friend, I played lacrosse with this guy. We don't have that in West Baltimore. That's not how it works.
Relational,
right?
yeah,
It's
relational.
relationships. However, with this sort of awakening that a lot of these larger companies have had, they are seeking out people to suck into the infrastructure, and then build those relationships. And that was never the case before. It's hard to get into commercial real estate, even for even for majority folks. It's not a simple industry to break into, especially because like I said, the relationship stuff. And then of course, the other big thing is you have to have capital. You can't just do deals without capital. So, and a lot of people have a rich uncle or their grandfather's been in the business for 1,000 years or whatever. But that's changing now, and there are huge opportunities. And I think what Coppin could think about and should think about, and I know this has been happening with Morgan, is reaching out to some of the area real estate firms, the brokerages and the other folks, the larger ones, JLL, CB, and saying, we want to work with you on something. Can we get a training program going? Can we get 1 or 2 of our kids into your training program every year? And it's a slow build, but you'll find now there's a network being created. And guys like me, and there's other folks like me, we will take a call from anybody from Baltimore. You're from Baltimore, you could call me and get on my schedule. So I think that you gotta for young people that want to take that initiative and want to be in this space, there has never been more opportune time if they want to do it. And so I think that where Coppin could help is by facilitating, those interactions, the way you probably facilitate it in other job opportunities, like engineering or nursing or what have you. There are definitely opportunities. And one just thing I want to throw out there too, everyone doesn't need to try to be a commercial real estate mogul, right? Like, you could just, owning and investing in real estate is a great way to set up your retirement and to protect yourself from the pitfalls of life. Having that home or the investment property that you can tap for cash in times of need, or to help send a child to college, or for the capital you need to start a business. Those are all things people should think about, and pathways and things that, if you didn't come from somebody who knows about that, how are you ever going to learn about it? You're just not going to know. Nobody's going to teach you. And by the time you figure out, you're like, man, I messed my credit up. This is all messed up. And now I have so much work to do to get into position. So I think, along those lines, I think Coppin and other universities, not just Coppin, obviously, can say, hey, let us teach you basic real estate financial literacy, which you can use for your own purposes, no matter what job you're in. And then for those who are seriously interested in this, let's get serious about calling CB Richard Ellis, JLL, whoever, and MCB, Greenberg Gibbons, all these companies. Let's call them and say, we want you to come in and talk. We want you at our career fair. There are kids who are interested in this, and help create those pathways. People are going to respond to Coppin in a way they're not going to respond to a random person calling them on the phone, right? You're a major anchor institution in Baltimore.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that, because we have 2 of our students. One has completed the Master's in Real Estate program at another local institution, and we have a student there now So we are beginning to develop that pipeline and those cohorts to do exactly what you described. But thank you. I'll pass it over to Senator. You have any closing remarks?
No, I just want to say thank you again. This is Westside on the Rise. We appreciate Dave Bramble coming, and you dropped so many jewels. I was sitting here taking notes, and so hopefully as the university community and the community throughout West Baltimore have an opportunity to participate in this webinar, some things that were shared here today will be helpful to you. As for me, I'm getting ready for our legislative session that's going to start on January the 12th. I will call the community's attention to January the 8th, Saturday, January the 8th at 9 o'clock at the University of Maryland Biopark. The 40th District team, which includes myself and our 3 delegates, will invite the community to have an update on what we plan to tackle in this session. There's a lot of funding available for infrastructure and other things, other decisions that we'll have to make this legislative session. So please come out on January the 8th at 9 o'clock at University of Maryland Biopark. And we look forward to hearing from you frequently and often. You could always go to our website at antoniohayes.com to find out updates on what else is happening. On to you, Dr. Williams, to close us out.
Okay, yeah. Again, I just want to echo our thanks to David Bramble. I'm not from Baltimore, but you may be getting a call from me to get. I've been
You're
here.
honorary. You're running to one of our most important institutions. So
yeah, I've been here for 45 years, so y'all can grandfather me in.
But you know, the first question we're going to ask is, where did you go to high school? Because you know that's how we roll.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. But thank you so much. This has been invaluable. Looking forward to engaging in the future. Again, as I said, we've had a great year. We're looking forward to 2022. There's nothing but opportunity ahead of us. Excited about what's happening, not only in West Baltimore, but on North Avenue, the whole corridor in general. So this has been Westside on the Rise. Thank you very much. Wish you happy holidays and a wonderful 2022. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.